Welcome back to Rocket Talk. It is now episode 53, and we actually rehired Johnny, even though he does use the dumb Oxford comma. So welcome back, Johnny.
Oxford comma is the way to go.
No. A quick thanks again, though, to Blake for joining us last week. Go check out that for our discussion with Blake. But then we fired Connor now. So, Connor is out. Yeah. And so now 2 weeks in a row, two people are fired. So we have our good friend Court Jensen back. Court, welcome back once again. You've been a frequent guest on the pod, so welcome to. It's glad to see you back again.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm still alive. I'm still here. I'm still old and very fat.
Honestly, this year is an excuse.
All the above.
That's totally fine. We're all getting fatter, but this is the year to do it.
Yes,
but surviving.
Well, glad that we have Court back. So before we jump into a couple blast for blow-ups, let's do a quick bev check. Johnny, are you sipping on anything this afternoon?
I am not. Earlier I got, not at this moment, but earlier, a few weeks ago, I started drinking some V8 vegetable juice to, stay healthy, and I love it. I didn't think that something that was so you guys know, you probably both know that I'm a big fan of Bloody Marys.
That is true.
And a lot of people make fun of me for my ketchup drinks, but I've just had vegetable juice, and it's been my thing that I've been having lately. Spicy, absolutely, is the way to go, because if you drink the normal one, it is not good. Connor recommended the low sodium one. I tried it, and it is garbage because it's low sodium, but spicy. Spicy V8.
I like the V8 Fusions because those have the vegetable juice and the fruit juice, so it tastes more like... It tastes closer to a regular, cranberry apple juice or whatever, but then it'll have... You can tell, there's, some carrot or some sweet potato or some tomato in it as well. It's not as pungent as the vegetable juice, but you can still get your fruit and vegetable servings through the juice as well. And I like their energy drinks one as well. It's not as much caffeine as, say, a Monster or a Bang or anything like that, but it's decent and they taste
I got some of the fruit juice too, the Fusion, and it's good, but it's good for you compared to other fruit juices, but it's just, there's something about the vegetable juice that's just to me, it's just so good and so spicy, and then there's the fruit juice, which is berries, and it's I've had this before. I've had this a million times.
Yeah, I don't like to do in the V8 regular as much either, but I mean,
I could do it, man.
No, not for you guys.
I've had a Bloody Mary one time, man. I'm sure.
Well, you've never had a good Bloody Mary.
No, I think it was really good. The guy advertised it as really good, but I just didn't think it was. It wasn't for me.
I just think about him sometimes and how the pandemic has made it a lot harder to get access to good ones anymore, and because I'm not going to make it myself, because I can't make one myself that's very good, but I miss going to a restaurant and getting one.
Court, what about you? Are you sipping on anything then?
Yeah, a little Bud Light Platinum Seltzer. I think it's wild berry.
I haven't had the Bud Light Platinum Seltzers. I've had. I really like the regular Bud Light Seltzers. I did not like the Christmas ones, the ugly sweater pack outside the cranberry. The gingerbread was okay, but that peppermint patty was disgusting. I want to try. They have a new one out. It's out of the office. They have it's like a margarita and a mojito and a lot of ones like that. I also am drinking a hard seltzer though. I'm drinking a Truly lemonade one. So it's original lemonade.
I had a variety pack of those recently.
Yeah, I like those too. It's funny. I love hard seltzers, and then regular seltzer water. I'm just nah, LaCroix and bubbly and all that. I'm just no thanks. But it has alcohol.
Disgusting. Yeah.
But awesome. So let's move on into a blast for blow up. So we have our newest addition to the Smash roster with Pyromithra on the docket now. So they join us from Xenoblade. And so, quickly, what are your guys' initial thoughts on the new fighter after having them for a couple days?
My initial thoughts were, I'm so excited because we really needed another anime swords fighter. And now we get two. Now we get two of them. That's what we were missing in Smash.
Exactly. Court, what about you? Have you been able to play around much with her? Or them, I should say?
Not at all. I let my friends I lent them to the game Smash Brothers. So I have just watched Sakurai's son, San, or whatever you say it. I just watched him get geeky over that, but never have I seen him get geekier than it was with Terry, I think.
Yeah,
but,
the Terry one, he was definitely...
And I was so happy because I'm a big Fatal Fury, King of Fighters fan.
This might have just been me, and I might have been misinterpreting or misreading something that wasn't there. But was he getting a little, like... Was Sakurai getting a little, like...
Horny?
Oh, yes! Yes!
He was
Is that just me?
So I didn't actually watch any of the... I barely watched a lot of his things going over it, especially, like, I was like, I'm not going to watch this one because I don't want another stupid anime Swords character. But yeah, so I haven't actually watched to see if he's been a simp for them. I mean, like, they out of all the female characters, they are some of the more attractive looking ones, right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I don't remember which one of the two, but there was something along the lines of him saying, I like Pyra more than Mithra because...
Oh, no.
Well...
I saw that, yeah, and he said it was like... Because
it was something like... Yeah, it was something like that. And I'm like, Sakurai, what do you... The kids are watching you right now.
Beyond that, I don't know if I saw that because I just saw little bits and pieces. He sold me for most part. Like, I like the color palette swapping. I really like the stage. The stage is beautiful too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, actually, I was surprised. So, I really liked the inclusion of it because I was like, another stupid Swords character. But there's something about this one that is different from the others. Outside of like Hero and Cloud, just because of how much they incorporate the Dragon Quest and the Final Fantasy elements into their moveset of like an RPG game. Out of a lot of the anime sword characters, I feel like these ones together are been some of my favorites because like Sephiroth was cool, which we'll get to in a second as well. Like his sword has such a long reach, and then some of his other abilities are nice, but he still plays a lot like a lot of the other characters. Where this one, I don't know, there's just something that's just different about it. Not counting the fact that you can switch to them. But I really actually was surprised at how much I was enjoying these two. They have actually probably been some of the most fun I've had with the Fighter Pass characters. From my first impressions, because originally Terry was my favorite off of just my first couple games playing with it. But now I think if I had to say which ones off of first impressions alone was my favorite, Pyra and Mithra actually might take the cake on that one.
Well, first of all, Terry is a really weird way for you to pronounce banjo. And
no,
second,
I like banjo, but like I had more fun.
Right.
I had more fun with like the move sets of Terry and Pyromithra, because in terms of ones that I was happy about, Banjo and then Steve were the ones I was like the most excited about for what it meant for Smash, where Pyra and Mithra were like there with Byleth as at the exact bottom, where I'm just like, Yeah. But like I would rather play Pyra and Mithra any day over Byleth. Like,
yeah,
Byleth is still my least favorite by far, and I cannot play well as Steve to save my life. But I would still rather lose every game as Steve than play as Byleth. So, but I've been really enjoying Pyra and Mithra. I did a little more World of Light because I never beat it, and I was playing as them, and it was just fun because there's sometimes I would just smack them with the sword at one point on whichever spirit I was doing, and then right away I'd win.
I like Mithra a little bit better just because I prefer speed characters. And I think it's really weird that I've never played Xenoblade Chronicles 2. None of us have. None of us here have. But their inclusion and having the exact same moveset, but one being stronger and one being faster, is what makes them the same as what an Echo Fighter would be. So like Peach and Daisy or Ken and Ryu. And I just think it's a little weird that I do like that there's 2 in 1 for people who are big fans of the series, but I just think it's a bit of an odd choice to do that here when they haven't done that with any of the other Echo Fighters in the past, because they're not technically Echo Fighters, they're 2 in 1, but they act exactly like an Echo Fighter.
Yeah, they're because they're slightly different with them, like with some of their smash attacks and all that, but for the most part, one's faster. Like some of their different specials are just a hair different. Like Pyra is like has the Flame Nova, where Mithra has the Lightning Buster. But like it's still like fast sword swipes. It's just one of them is faster than the others, and the other one it does like. But yeah, for the most part, they're almost exactly the same. But I think the ability to transform mid-game does give it a unique push, because sure, you could do that with like Pokemon Trainer and stuff like that, but it allows you to switch things up. If it's someone that, you know, they're favoring some more powerful characters, and it'd be better to counter them with a fast character than you can be Mithra. But if it's better to have more power, switching to Pyra is great as well. I think that this is definitely one that up there with Hero and Joker, that the meta as a whole for the game is better now that you're throwing this one in to it as another strong character to pick and play as, where I think I will not be surprised if we see this in a lot of like competitions where people are starting to use these two a lot more.
Yeah, another thing that's a bit of a bummer is that they did, this is one more character that's kind of that allows the, to switch around when they haven't had that in a while. They have it with Pokemon Trainer, and they used to do that with Zelda and Sheik. But there hasn't been a new character in a while that's done that, and I was really hoping that the next one that would do that would be the 4 champions from Breath of the Wild. You could just alternate Rivali, Urbosa, Mifa, and Daruk. And I'm still holding out hope that they're like a collective 4-pack, but now that we've just gotten a 2-in-1, I kind of don't see a 4-in-1 happening soon, so that's kind of a bummer for me. But I think that they're good. I'm not a huge fan of them. I'm glad to see more female representation in the game.
That's true too,
because there's a very, very low percentage of that.
And it's nice that we're getting another one where it's like, it's not there's an alternate version where it is a female. Like, you have Minecraft Steve and you have Alex, where this one it's 2 females and like they're both female. It's not like where Byleth, there's the boy Byleth and the girl Byleth. Yeah, so the inclusivity part of it is awesome. But yeah, and
it could have been Rex and Pyra. So instead of it being 2 identical movesets, a lot of people were suspecting. I don't know the game very well, but from what I've gathered, it's kind of like it's sort of like Banjo-Kazooie, how they're in tandem with each other. But Rex and Pyra could have teamed up, and I'm really glad that instead of doing that, where like Rex is clearly like the first name, so he's the one that's like the guy that's there. It's 2 women that are fighting together, so I think that's really cool.
Rex is in there with the Final Smash.
Yes, but
I always
he didn't get an invitation.
I always enjoy a good Final Smash, and so that's another one that I think that helps with me enjoying these characters, because it is a very satisfying one when you get your Final Smash out with either of them. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. And then quick too, since we haven't talked about it, because when we're recording our episodes during the holidays, we were kind of doing them before, so we never got to do an official on Sephiroth again. So this one's more just a brief mention. But what are your guys' thoughts then on Sephiroth as well, when he got added now about 3 months ago?
I like it. I love how long his range is. He's a scary dude, and I think that's really cool. We need more villains. We need more women, and we need more villains in Smash. And so this was a really good inclusion. It's hard to say because there's a lot of series that haven't been represented yet, and to get another Final Fantasy character in there, which I mean it's only the second one, but still we don't have Dixie Kong yet. So I'm just, I think that he's great. Since we have him, I think he's good. He there's a big reason that he can be there. He deserves to be there. But I would have wanted somebody else, but we got him, and I think that his moveset is really great. Like I said, his long range is insane, and that's a lot of fun to mess with. So.
Yeah, I think we've gotten 2 of our best Swords characters with the last 2, with getting Mithra, Pyra, and Sephiroth, because because Sephiroth, his range is insane with that sword. Like he's slow because of it too, and all that. But like it is very satisfying to play as him as well. I would say now I still haven't put as much time into a lot of the swordsmen as others, but I would say like that Sephiroth and Mithra are probably, if I were to main a sword, like if I knew I wanted to run a sword person for a bit, it'd be one of those two sets that I'd be running a lot of.
Yeah.
Court, have you had any time with the
zero experience with him, but I just know he's a formidable foe. I'm happy that they lured him out of Hot Topic so he could be in the game. But yeah, he's always been like a formidable foe. Like back in Kingdom Hearts days when I was playing, you could bump into him, and I knew that he was going to be a big deal. I played a little bit of Final Fantasy 7 or whatever he's in.
Yeah, he's the main villain in 7.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I didn't want my Final Fantasy cred to be taken away. I have zero Final... But
do you have... Yeah, I was going to say, do you have Final Fantasy cred?
I don't. I have the remake, and I've yet to play it.
Yeah, I just got the remake because it's free with PlayStation, and I'm gonna finally dive into it as someone who's never played Final Fantasy and barely plays.
Jealous.
That's awesome. Yeah, so what I saw him take on like 3 different people with his length of his sword was amazing. I know it leaves him open for vulnerability, but from what I've seen, he has some kind of wing recovery, or maybe it's when he gets close to his life, end of his hit points, or whatever you would call them. I just don't know too much about it, but I just seen a very little gameplay, and I'm very excited you guys are selling these guys. I'm going to have to call up my friends and say, give me that game back. I'm ready to play. Because I haven't played Steve. I haven't played,
Steve is very technical. If you can I would definitely watch tips and guides how to play as Steve, because Steve is one of those, if you know how to play as Steve is awesome. I just don't know how to play
Mr.
Steve.
Game & Watch type.
Yeah. The first night Steve came out, I was having a hard time. I didn't understand the crafting material or the crafting mechanic. It was really confusing for me. But Sephiroth was pretty easy, and Pyra and Mithra were really easy for me to kind of understand. But I think overall this Fighters Pass is pretty good. I mean,
I hope we're going to see a former.
So it's not as good.
Are we going to see a former Sony spokesman?
I hope so, man. I do hope we get Crash. Yeah, I would say now, kind of looking back at what we've had so far with the first 4 in Fighter Pass 2. It doesn't have as much of the I think the punch that Fighter Pass 1 had, especially no matter, obviously Johnny is biased with the banjo thing, but the banjo inclusion was just such a big deal, because while Steve was another big deal, and then all these characters were big deals, the inclusion of banjo was such a big deal, because that was one that showed, okay, Microsoft is letting this come out. We're acknowledging banjo for the first time in outside of the remaster in almost a decade. First time the fans really cared about it in almost 2 decades. So a lot of that happened where that was such a huge deal, and stuff like that. But I've been for the most part pretty happy with what we've had so far, because Min Min's a ton of fun, and it's great because female inclusion. It brings people awareness of ARMS, which is a fun game, and I know that Abby loves that game. And then you go with Steve and Sephiroth and now Mithra and Pyro. It's while I would have liked a few less swordsmen, they all have their own unique things that set them apart from other characters in either their own series or just other swordsmen. So it makes it so they're a little more unique. So I really hope we get Crash, but with how my disappointment has been kind of wiped away with Mithra and Pyra. Hopefully, if it isn't Crash and someone I'm lesser on, they'll still play well like these two have. Would you guys give this? I know it's a little harder for Court, hasn't played it, but for a blast off or a blow up, what would you do for Mithra and Pyra?
Definitely blast off. I would say that their inclusion is great for a lot of reasons. It was definitely leaning more towards blow up right at the beginning when it was first revealed. But as I played more, as I looked more into it, and I got to play their stage, play their character, I really started to like them. So yeah, blast off for me.
Yeah, I would also give it a blast off. Like I said before, this might be now one of the main ones in my rotation. I've been trying to get off of playing as just Kirby, like I did at the start of the game, and I've been trying to get Sonic down. So I've been the main ones I've been rotating through have been Sonic, Kirby, and Incineroar. So it's been nice to be able to add. I can add someone else to the rotation that I can do and really have fun with it. So this is definitely a blaster for me. Court, if you had to guess based off of just the little bit you've seen and the way Johnny and I have described it, would you give this a blast off, or do you say blow it all up?
I'll give it a blast off, but based on what you guys are saying, based on what Sakurai was getting very excited about, yeah, I'd give it a blast off, and I'm really excited to try all these characters that I've yet to dive into, and let's hope Crash makes it. I hate to keep going back to that, but man,
that'd be so nice. But
I think what you were saying earlier, yeah, Crash is what is gonna be, if Crash is in it, Crash is what would make it just as good as the first one, what Banjo did. So hopefully I'm thinking if they have him, he's gonna be the last one, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's a bummer because the Crash, with the Crash 4 game getting the PS5, Xbox Series X update, and the Switch port coming out actually a couple days after this podcast goes up. Yeah, it's a bummer that kind of lined up, because that would have been a perfect addition. But yeah, I hope that we get Crash one of these final 2 spots. But we have another blaster for blow up then as well. So this past Friday, WandaVision Season 1 wrapped up. So we have our first MCU Disney Plus show that is wrapped up. Our first Marvel Studios one, not the Marvel Television one as well. Because while we've had Jessica Jones and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all these other shows, this is the first one that Kevin Feige and a lot of the movie people have been really behind. So we've seen a lot more of it connected to the movies compared to those other shows where you get the couple references here and there, the small cameo. So what were your guys' thoughts then on this MCU Disney Plus show as it has wrapped up its season?
Okay, I'll take it away because this is my bread and butter. So yeah, initially it was like a weird concept when I first heard it. It's going to be like a sitcom. One of the first episodes is going to be filmed before a live audience, or at least people who work for Marvel or family people, to give it that ambience, like that Dick Van Dyke ambience. And I thought that was a crazy idea. And how are they going to factor in anything like any kind of Marvelism in there? I thought it was kooky, and then it kind of was a slow burn at the beginning. It was like, okay, some stuff is going on, but now and then when you had like that 70s show mom come in, and there was some creepiness with the wife, her and her husband, and some creepiness was coming in. They were asking questions, and something was not right in the world. We know that Wanda was going to do something crazy because she's going to be in the multiverse of madness with Doctor Strange. So we know that she's in a very grief-stricken situation with losing Vision, her brother, and people she loved. Basically, I guess she basically lost Captain America in a way, because he's now an old man and retired. And then it progressed, and then it just got creepier, and then like there was a lot of trolling. They did some serious trolling. I followed so many YouTubers on trying to decipher what something meant. I thought Mephisto was going to be in here. I thought Ralph maybe was Mephisto, and I followed all these Easter eggs, and I was disappointed sometimes, but all along, I loved the structure. I loved the 80s. I loved the 90s. I followed the TGIF, Full House stuff. It's great to see her. I followed her sisters, of course, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. It's great that she's the better of all that. They kind of look like trolls. No offense to them. They look like troll dolls to me. But that's neither here nor there. That's not part of the show. But they're so... Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are so dang good.
Yeah, especially the whole cast. This showed just how good of actors they are, because they were like, hey, we're obviously getting some spoilers on the show as well, but it's like, hey, you're going to do this first episode like a Dick Van Dyke, Bewitched, Leave It to Beaver, like these old 50s, 60s sitcoms, and then okay, now you're going to be more of a Brady Bunch style, and then okay, now do Full House, now do Malcolm in the Middle and Modern Family. Like, they had to completely change the style that they were going for the show while still keep it uniform. It's insane, just like how just how they were able to put all these together to make it like work but feel different at the same, like feel different and structured together at the same time.
They perfectly recreated all those, like, because I knew I was raised on all these reruns, these Brady Bunches, Dick Van Dykes, and even as a kid I gravitated towards Gilligan's Island and all this classic TV, so I know that the house looks like this, the Brady Bunch recreation, and Malcolm in the Middle's talking to the audience, and all this stuff was awesome. It was cool to see their like classic costumes, a wink to their cheesy classic costumes and stuff, and just all the care that they took. I think that the last episode we're getting a making of episode, and I'm so excited for that because I'm a big documentary guy, so I want to see how they recreate. They actually talked to Dick Van Dyke to recreate the first episode. They picked his brain to see exactly how he shot stuff back then, how it should be done. They use wires and stuff with the magic and the kitchen utensils, just like they would do. And I think they did their homework.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that a lot of research went into this one. It was awesome. I like you mentioned, it was kind of a slow burn. The first couple episodes, I was like, this is fun, but like, okay, like when we get into things, and that's especially that third episode when it went into color and it was more of that 70s style with the pregnancy. That's when it was like, all right, perfect. This is when we're really starting to get some things crazy. And then we got the episode where we found out like what was happening in the real world that led to the like. There's the first couple episodes were pretty forgettable. Like it's fun and all. Like, it was like a fun like a callback to Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore and all that. But once you got into the third, fourth, fifth episode, it's been like, okay, this is awesome. I am loving this now, and I was definitely a lot more of a fan as we got later on into the show than we were at the start. But yeah, this was awesome. And then I like you mentioned the little callbacks with I think that the biggest surprise to everyone. So again, big spoilers on this one, but when Evan Peters showed up as Pietro as a recast of Quicksilver, which was a fun nod to the fact that there were two Quicksilvers at the same time, since Evan Peters played him in the Fox films, starting with Days of Future Past, and then Aaron Tyler Johnson was him in Avengers Age of Ultron and his brief cameo in the second Captain America. But that was such a fun way. And then I was a little bummed when it was revealed to be an imposter, but with the way the show then led up to be, it made sense. But I thought this was how they were going to tie in the X-Men characters back into the MCU, but we're going to have to wait a little bit on that one. Same with no Magneto, but I was thoroughly enjoying this show. John, what about your opinions then? Then we'll kind of talk about some of our favorite episodes and all that.
I thought from the very beginning that I loved it. I mean, I talked about it when we reviewed the first episode, or the first two, I believe. And I was in love with it from like the very beginning. I knew I was going to like it just from what was shown, and from what was shown in the trailers compared to what we got in the entire season. They did a very good job of keeping spoilers, like everything, out of the trailers. So I kind of assumed that the entire series was going to be in black and white, or like 75 to 80 or so % of it was going to be in black and white. No, it was just the first two episodes. So, but I loved that because there was there were some creepy moments to them, like learning more about waking up and realizing like that there's more out there. But as far as like the plot, there wasn't really plot in the first two. It was just all fun, and I enjoyed that because they had a lot of time to get to the plot later on. I know that that's something that some people probably didn't like a lot, but for me personally, I loved it. It was kooky, it was silly, it was a lot of fun for me. And especially if you look at the first episode, where it's like a 50s or 60s show, and then you watch the very last episode, which is like a Marvel movie quality action film. It's so crazy that like all of this, it made sense how it streamed from one to another within 9 episodes. But it's just so crazy that all of this happened. There's so much range with Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, and Catherine Hahn, and just the writers did a good job. The story was great. There was moments that would make you cry, moments that would make you laugh, and just overall, I loved it. This season or series, if it's only a 1-season show, has made Wanda my favorite character in the MCU.
Yeah, this is going to be a one series on the last episode on the series finale. Maybe we'll get some sort of new show. It's a spinoff of it, but the WandaVision, like this style of show, this is a one-off show.
Yeah, I don't know how you can really continue. I mean, they're continuing it with Doctor Strange.
Right.
Then going forward, if we find out how they reconnect, spoiler alert, how she reconnects with Vision again, maybe they can have something later on.
Yeah, because that's the one. I think the all-white body, the no memory emotion Vision, since like when the projection of Vision and the recreated Vision were able to connect, I think that he's going to go find himself, and that's how we're going to see Vision come back. Kind of like how we have it where it's the 2014 version of Gamora that is now with the Guardians in Guardians of the Galaxy instead of the original. So there's a way that they can have it where technically they're a new character and the same character at the same time. So, but
I think that this is Wanda is not a character, or Vision really are not not really in the highest tier of before the show of when it came to the expansive cast. And so to have these two be the stars of the very first MCU Disney Plus series is a big deal. And I like I said, I liked who Wanda was before. I could not give less of a shit about Vision. But now that this has come out, this has made two characters that I didn't really think much of, two of my favorite characters in the entire series. So
yeah, I would agree.
I'm just excited what they're going to do with Winter Soldier and Falcon, in a week. Yeah. So
every series is going to be like. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. Go ahead. No. So like I said, every series is going to be like different because like this is pretty cutting edge for a Marvel series. Then I feel like I'm not going to discredit like Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I think it's straightforward like Marvel goodness action.
Yeah, yes, the trailer of that looks like it's going to be. They're going to take basically snippets of a movie and space it out into a show with a recurring storyline. And that's fine. Yeah. Like that's what I was expecting when they announced they're going to be doing all these shows. And I feel like Loki is going to, even though Loki's going to be a lot more weird, Loki's going to be the same. Like a lot of these other shows.
I feel like Loki's going to like get into the weirdness of like the WandaVision in a way. Mm-hmm. So it'll be like a swinging pendulum. Like you'll get
a mix of the
you'll get weird
classic Marvel feeling, but also.
You'll get some weirdness, you'll get some normality in a way, as much as Marvel can do, and you'll get a little bit of weirdness, and then whatever else comes next.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is a very good launching off point for what's to come. And not just with these characters, but just in the world in general. I mean, I was really bummed to see it go, and then I was like, oh, but Falcon and Winter Soldier is like 3 or 4 months away, and I'm like, no, actually, it's like 2 weeks away. So we're getting it very soon.
Just like the movies, how we have a lot of them coming out if the if movies start coming out in theaters again, but like because we have WandaVision that just ended. And then, like 2 weeks later, you get Falcon Winter Soldier, and then that will run for 6 episodes and end at the end of April. And then we'll have about a month and a half off, and then mid-June, Loki comes out, and that'll run for 6 episodes. And then later this year, we're going to be getting What If, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, and then into 2022, we'll be getting Moon Knight, She-Hulk, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, plus there's still Secret Invasion, Ironheart, Armor Wars, and the Untitled Wakanda spinoff series that's also in development. So, like, they have the shows and the movies where it's going to be there's not going to be as much gaps.
There's not a dry time.
Yeah, there's not as much of a dry time like we saw earlier on in the MCU where there'd be like maybe 1 movie a year, maybe 2. We're getting 3 or 4 movies a year plus 2 or 3 shows a year on top of that. So we're getting a ton when it comes to the MCU, you know, so hopefully they all can hold up well, because you know, I'm sure there's going to be burnout that's going to happen, because I mean, between now and November 2022, we have like 8 movies and then like 7 TV shows all coming out. So hopefully most of them are good, so it doesn't like but Marvel's banking on a lot of this for doing all of these so close together after doing more of a movie a year or 2 movies a year like they did for the first few phases.
It means we're going to have a lot of content.
That's true.
I do got to mention something before we move on. Like, this is a little bit of a bummer, maybe for Marvel fans. It is for me, and I hope it's not true, but I watched this Grace Randolph on it's Beyond the trailer. And so Kevin Feige went to like some kind of TV conference, and he said that these movies or these TV shows aren't going to really have some kind of big consequence that's going to overlap into the movies, which I thought that was contradicting of what I heard before. So say like he's going to leave the movies to have some kind of big payoff, and these shows are just going to have like self-contained character studies, or they're not going to have something big payoff. And I think that's kind of weird to hear, because I still think they're important.
I think that was more just him trying to try to get people off the trail of figuring out what, like, trying to connect the shows and the movies are coming out around the same time, because like they've been telling us this whole time that the end of WandaVision is going to tie into Doctor Strange, and like they showed her in her little astral projection, but they didn't actually you didn't see Doctor Strange or any of the other Doctor Strange characters. So I feel like that was more just him trying to say, hey, we might tie things in, but it might not be like
the
exactly. They're going to tie in, though.
I think I'm not really surprised that they said that. I think that the way I look at it is not so much that like the plot isn't going to continue through the series, through the different shows, but it's more that these are the characters that have their own shows and that they will be in some of the movies, and so it's less of the plot and more about the character's story arc that I'm gonna appreciate. Like I love, like I said, I love Wanda, and so I'm gonna want to go back and watch all of the shows that are the movies that she and Vision were in, and that would like let's say 3 years from now, I'm going to rewatch that and include all of WandaVision, and then maybe I'll want to be I want to watch all the stuff with Winter Soldier in it, so I'll watch all that and then his series. But I think it's really good a good chance to deep dive into these characters rather than learning about the world that they're all in.
And it's probably better too to not have a big thing like the splitting of the Avengers in Civil War or the blip, the snap, like you see in Infinity War and Endgame, because there's people that they only saw the Avengers movies. They there's people that went and saw Avengers Infinity War and were like, who the hell are all these people that aren't Thor and Hulk, because they never saw Guardians of the Galaxy, or especially like the Guardians and Doctor Strange are the ones that, because of like those are more out there characters, I'm sure there's people that they went in there and they're like, who the hell are these random, who's this tree man? Like that definitely was one that threw people off. And so it's better to keep them contained and connect at the same time, because if you have these big things that happen in the shows, then they have to find a way to mention it in the movie, so someone who hasn't seen WandaVision or Falcon Winter Soldier will understand what's going on. And that's probably one of the reasons too why we never really saw, outside of Easter eggs, any real reference of a lot of the Marvel television shows, even though there were tons of them that we had, starting with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because there were what, like 15 of those shows that we had, counting all of them.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is very good.
Yeah, because you had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you had Agent Carter, Inhumans, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage.
We don't mention it.
Inhumans was good, and you are wrong. It got one season, and it was very good.
But like there were tons of them. You had the ones that were on ABC, you had the ones on Netflix, you had the few that are on Hulu and Freeform. Like there were so many of them But like I mentioned, you'd have the few occasional, like some smaller characters would show up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that. But and then you would have references to the other shows in the Marvel movies, but you never saw Jessica Jones or Daredevil show up in Winter Soldier or anything like that.
Do either of you think that we'll get the Netflix Marvel characters and ever again?
I think we'll get some.
I want Matt Murdock as Spider-Man's lawyer in the next one. Just if it's just a scene, it could be a 5-minute or less scene. Yeah. Just acknowledge.
I think Luke Cage and Jessica Jones would be so much fun to bring back.
I think those two. I never watched any of those shows, but I feel like the ones that we have the best chance of getting back is Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, just because of Daredevil is a pretty important Marvel character. And then just with how well Jessica Jones and Luke Cage were as characters in this type of thing, I feel like we can see those two come. But outside of that, man, I don't know.
Iron Fist. I talked a lot about on Nerdmageddon how Colleen is the second character in Iron Fist, and she is the one that deserves her own show. Not whatever his name is. What is his name?
Shang-Chi or whatever.
Danny Rand. Not Danny Rand. Colleen needs to be and spoilers for anybody who hasn't yet seen Iron Fist season 2, but at the very end of season 2, if I'm remembering this correctly, Colleen gets the Iron Fist along with Danny Rand, so she could become the better Iron Fist that is actually interesting to see on screen.
Seriously, she would fit so good in Shang-Chi. I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I mean, and then bam, you got her in there, and I think I don't know what the Avengers team's going to be like, but throw in. I mean, Luke Cage is a member of Avengers. White Vision, or whatever he's called right now, is part of that's what his version was in the West Coast Avengers. So they basically just hang out in California. I think that's where they're going. I think that's where they're going with this, because they're just going to be a whole new team. I don't know what they're going to look like, but throw in Jessica Jones and Luke Cage.
Yeah, we'll see some of them back. I just don't know if we're going to see all of them back just because of everything they did. But just real quick then before we move on. So blast off or blow up then on WandaVision. I feel like I know where this is going, but what would you guys give WandaVision?
I mean, it's a blast off for me. It did a very good job of getting me interested in, not that I needed really a push or anything, but in the first of many MCU shows on Disney Plus. So
I agree. It definitely, I wouldn't say fully revitalized my interest in the MCU, but it definitely had me a lot more excited. Because after Spider-Man, as much as I like Spider-Man Far From Home, I was happy that we had a little bit of a gap between the films, just because it was just so much at the end, and as good as most of them were, it was nice to have a little break to recharge the batteries. And this being the first one, even though technically Black Widow was supposed to be the first one we got, this being the first one to really kick off Phase 4, and the new direction it's going is great. And any time that they dive into the after effects of the snap, the blip, it's always insane to see. Especially how they did it in this show with Maria Rambeau, with her waking up in the hospital that her mom died in, and then she came back there, and all these other people came back all at the same time, and just the sheer panic in that hospital, knowing okay, why are all these people, or not Monica, coming back? That is just such a crazy thing to think about, because we saw it a little bit in Spider-Man as well, but think about it, if you were on an airplane when this happened, all of a sudden you're just in the air, and you're I wonder how many people being brought back from the snap then actually died just because of where they were. But it's always crazy to see just the sheer chaos that came from it and the adjustments that they have had. But definitely a blast off for me, and I'm definitely a lot more interested in the future of the MCU, both with the movies and the shows, a lot more because of this.
Yeah, blast off. Keep trying. Keep taking risks with the MCU. I mean, we're going to get Miss Marvel, which is the first Pakistani superhero. And we're going to I just want them to keep trying new things and keep taking risks and keep getting kooky and get into the outer space stuff and give us this craziness. But it was definitely a blast off for me.
Awesome. Well, then that can move us into our topic of the week. So, the day this episode goes live, it is Mario Day. So, happy Mario Day, since it is March 10th. MAR10, MARIL, ha 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 ha. If you haven't realized that before, when people say happy Mario Day, that's why. So, also, a quick happy belated 4th anniversary to the Switch as well, since that, a little over a week after this episode goes live, it just happened.
But the Switch is now walking, starting to write, and has been potty trained for a little over a year now. So
it's a big fan of Paw Patrol or whatever kids watch. Yes. I don't know what kids watch these days.
But yeah, so so we thought for the Mario Day it'd be fun to do a kind of a wrap up of the Mario 35th anniversary celebration, since that is coming to a close now after 3D World plus Bowser's Fury came out, and we got our last couple things as well, and then at the end of the month, Mario is dying.
Mario dies.
Mario dies at the end of the month when 3D All-Stars and Super Mario Bros. 35 leave the eShop, and physical copies will stop being printed. So it might be smart to go out and buy an extra copy of 3D All-Stars, like a physical copy, and then hold on to that, and then in a few months put it up on eBay or Facebook Marketplace and make your money back and then some.
That's a good idea. I might do that.
So we thought it'd be good just to give our thoughts on everything that happened, that we got during the celebration that Nintendo did, plus the couple fringe. There's a game that came out before, a couple are coming out after, but just kind of how we felt like Nintendo did celebrating a big anniversary for their most popular character and, arguably the most popular video game character. So, for a quick recap for those who may have missed it, back in September, Nintendo gave us a Super Mario Brothers 35th anniversary direct, and so they announced a bunch of stuff, with the biggest one being Super Mario 3D All-Stars being optimized versions of 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy coming to the Switch all in one package, but a limited time availability from September to March, as well as Mario Kart Live Home Circuits, the Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers handheld release, Super Mario Brothers 3D World, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and then some smaller stuff like the Super Mario Brothers 35 Battle Royale game, Mario All-Stars coming to the Super Nintendo online, and a bunch of just little events across other games like Mario Kart Tour and Mario Maker and stuff like that. So just kind of recapping everything, what do you think was the best thing then that came out in this 35th anniversary special? So any Mario related thing from like September to March, what was your favorite thing that came out?
For me, I think that the greatest thing is the 3D All-Stars. We'd been speculating on it because of all the rumors that have been going around for months before the direct came out in September, and but still waking up with no warning, and waking up with that video of everything that was going to come out, and then seeing the three of the most iconic games in the series all together in one pack was just like chef's kiss. Just so good, and also the fact that it was like 2 or 3 weeks out from the direct, like that, something that big and announced like out of nowhere, and just like, yeah, you can get it in 3 weeks, like that's insane. Like that never happens.
Yeah, like it wasn't really a well kept secret that it was coming, but the fact that they announced it, because the direct was early September, and then mid September it came out.
Yeah, so it was huge, and I remember, I spent the next week playing through all of them, and 64 I'd replayed about 4 or 5 years ago, and so I wasn't as thrilled to, because I still have the 64 in my room here, and Galaxy was something that, because it was newer, it was something that like I didn't have as much of a desire to play, because I remembered I'd played it pretty recently as well, but Sunshine was something that I hadn't played in like 15 years, because I don't have my GameCube with me anymore, so replaying all of them, but especially Sunshine was just like, so good, like so good.
Yeah. Court, what about you? What was your favorite out of all the releases?
I gotta cheat and say like the games, the combination between the collection, all stars, and then 3D World. I didn't have a Wii U. I'll probably eventually get one because I gotta get all. I have almost all the Nintendo consoles. No handhelds. I never had any handhelds until the Switch, so that's cool. So I gotta get that. I have it now, so I've never played it, so it's all new to me. All Stars, I think I was in the opposite end of Johnny. I think what I liked about the All Stars, it was revisiting Mario Galaxy, and because I played the Wii a lot, and I think when I was in the GameCube era, I was playing more like Soul Calibur and like X-Men Legends and stuff like that. Those kind of games. And not your classic. I was playing Double Dash and stuff like that. But
he was into the adult games. He wasn't in those kitty Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, get those out. Get those suckers out.
Too cool for Mario.
Yeah. But yeah, those were the cool things. And then we got bombarded with like little cool niche things like a girl's clothing, and it was pretty cool looking. I just looked at it. I'd never really seen it. It was then we got the Legos that a lot of stuff I couldn't afford. Or
that Lego NES thing was so cool.
Yeah,
I wanted one so
really
bad,
cool.
but it was like $250. I was like, no thanks.
So yeah, it was the Mario interactive thing, and it was of course the console NES thing like you're talking about. I do have the collection on physical and digital, so I got that covered. I don't know how that worked out.
Make some bank from that.
I don't know how that worked out, but I got it, so I have that covered. So I was happy that you said that. And so yeah, I would say just the games, and just Nintendo never has to do anything. They're a company that plays by their own rules, so they don't have to even acknowledge their flagship character if they didn't want to. So everything was gravy. Everything was awesome.
Yeah. So mine, honestly, I kind of went back and forth on it, but I think I'm going to stick with it. I think Super Mario Bros. 35 was my favorite out of all the things. Even though it was a lot of a smaller title, and it's like, it was a fresh way, though, to replay the first Mario Brothers, and that was a ton of fun. It's a lot like Tetris 99, where it's a fun Nintendo take on the Battle Royale, and it was super addicting. I played that a ton the first month or so that it was out, and I even won a game on that as well. And so that was just a lot of fun, because like the original Mario Brothers has been beaten to death at this point. It's like Green Hill Zone and Sonic. It's there's so many things. Like everyone has played the first Mario Brothers basically, but having this new way to play it was a ton of fun and brought some new life into a game that was 35 years old. So that was probably my favorite overall. But there were a couple others that I also definitely really enjoyed. Out of all of the releases, what do you think one release maybe needed a little more? The big example I can think of is a lot of people that complain about 3D All-Stars complain about how it was very bare bones. It was just the games, it was just the soundtracks, where other remasters are coming out and they were including new content, or they were including complete remakes. It had a lot more onto it. Even if they would have thrown in like documentaries, that could have been something that was different. But it was a very bare bones port. Like the games didn't need much else. Like it'd have been nice to maybe have a little less jank of 64 and Sunshine, but like that's what makes those games. But I think that's one that I think kind of stood out, where sure, a bigger, more expansive Mario 35 with other games could have been nice, but that wasn't the focus. Or Mario Kart Live, more characters, cool. But I think the biggest one for me is 3D All Stars with just a little bit more. What about you guys? Is there anything else you can really think of that maybe out of whether it's 3D World, the crossover content? What's something you think that maybe it needed just a little more?
I think that when it comes to like everything that I would have wanted compared to what we got, I think meeting somewhere in the middle would have been a really good, like, what they could have given us, because I have a lot that I wish they had done. It's a lot of what you mentioned, but with 3D All-Stars, I wish they upped the graphics on at least the first 2 games. Galaxy could have been okay, but how it was, but at least the first 2 games. With Mario Kart Tour, or Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, why just Mario and Luigi? Where is Toad? Where is Yoshi? Where is Peach? And I get that they didn't want to do it because it was probably expensive to make more than one kind of model, but they're Nintendo. They have money. They have the money. And so I really would have liked to have a Toad, or I can't expect Waluigi because he's not even in Smash. But there would have been more characters I would have liked there. With 3D World, plus Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury was great. I wouldn't have changed anything there, but they did nothing to the base game. They added a few things. They made them faster. There's amiibo support.
There's no substantial new features though.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
It's a lot of quality of life things and then amiibo support.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I would have wanted a new character maybe. Maybe a new character in 3D World, up the graphics in 3D All-Stars, and a new character, an additional character in Home Circuit. But I know that not all of those things could have been possible, but some of them should have been, and it just seems like they did the bare minimum for this celebration. And look, I bought everything. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I didn't, but I bought everything. But the bummer is that this celebration is exclusively a throwback, and there's almost nothing that's new. The only I talked about this when the trailer came out, but the only new content that we got was Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. Everything else was either a port, a remaster, or a version like with Mario 35, a redoing an already existing game.
Yeah. We just got Mario Kart, and then Bowser's Fury was the only
new Bowser's Fury was a section, but yeah, those two things, a $100 cart or a game you can beat in 3 hours.
Yeah. Court, what about you? What's a big thing that you maybe would have wished would have happened with what we got?
Just piggybacking off of that, they could have threw us a bone and say Mario Odyssey or whatever they're going to call it next is in the works, and maybe throw out one single graphic or concept art or something said, just to whet the appetite of the fans. I'm really happy with everything. Like I said, 3D World is brand new to me, so that's all gravy to me. I'm not a big stickler on up-res graphics or fancy churching it up, as I would say, with the graphics and stuff. That's all. It's a collection. It's awesome. I was back in the day, I played the All-Stars for Super Nintendo. I love that. They gave us it looking fancy and looking very popped a little bit, but and then in the Wii era, they gave us a soundtrack or something. So they did bare bones sort of when they brought Mario All-Stars for the Wii. They just gave us basically some music.
Yeah, true. They did just put a ROM on a disc and sold it to you and said, "Here you go."
Yeah.
So we're gonna as Nintendo as Nintendorks, as Johnny says, we're gonna eat this up no matter what. I just got this Criterion, and I know Nintendo is not a prestigious thing like Criterion, but I just got this Godzilla Criterion collection that has 15 discs and a essay book, and it's really cool. They could have just gave us a deluxe thing with essays, like you said, Luke, a documentary. Just spice it up, give us a higher priced inclusion that would just give us more supplements to honor the our fat plumber friend, our portly plumber friend, and just give us just a tier higher of we could throw in some money.
Yeah, because I've gone back and forth on that, where I've talked about 3D All-Stars, where the game's bare bones at it all it is still, I think, worth the $60 because of the games you're getting. But at the same time, literally every other re-release that we were getting the last few years, whether it was Crash or even Call of Duty, while they made you pay more money for the DLC map pack that was in the game, the Call of Duty one had and the Call of Duty 4 Remaster had new things in it that was not just now you can have a model viewer. They put new things in before they made you repay for the DLC. But like other games were having new content, or they rebuilt the game completely from the ground up. And I get that people would have complained about that as well, because then 64 wouldn't have played exactly like it did on the 64, and that was a big gripe people had with the Crash and Spyro remakes. But at the same time, Activision went out and tried, where Nintendo maybe didn't. Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, it's kind of in the past now, and like what we got, I am happy with. I just probably would have wanted a little more. So Johnny already mentioned what his favorite was overall with the big release with 3D All-Stars. But Court, what out of 3D All-Stars, Mario Kart Live, and 3D World, which was your favorite, and then why?
Probably 3D World. It was like the perfect amalgamation of like, let's see, Mario 3 with some of the suits, like a classic Wii Mario. It was all these like amalgamations of past Mario games all thrown into a blender and given me that goodness. So I could see different iterations of Mario all thrown into this game and just like put on puree. And I like that. So, and any kind of cat suits, you know?
That doesn't hurt.
It's all good. So yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, I also would say 3D World was my favorite. I also did not own a Wii U, so this was a new experience for me. My exposure to 3D World was mainly from Super Mario Maker 2. So being able to play it after enjoying like some of the mechanics that made it over to Mario Maker 2 and some of the music, I was excited for this one, and yeah, I loved it. It was I like wasn't finding myself putting it down a lot of times after I got it, and while I still have more to go with the bonus worlds, I went and I knocked out the main levels, the main 8 worlds, in no time. And so like I had a ton of fun with that, and I put in a good amount of time in Bowser's Fury as well. And so that has been a ton of fun, because 3D World is such a fun idea of mixing the classics 2D style with some of the mechanics of the 3D Collectathon ones. And then Bowser's Fury takes that to a whole nother level of what if a Collectathon game had some more of the elements of the 2D style with the power-ups. And so that's been a ton of fun, and I really am excited to see what that could mean for the future of 3D Mario as we get whatever the follow-up is after this and Odyssey, with how successful both those games have been. So that's been interesting to see as well. On the smaller releases, and celebrations, like the Animal Crossing content, Mario 35, the Game & Watch release, what was your favorite out of all of those, and why?
For me personally, I'm enjoying the Animal Crossing content a lot. I played Mario 35, and I definitely see the appeal, but it just wasn't something that was for me. And as soon as I saw the Game & Watch thing, I was like, I was like glazing, my eyes were glazing over. I just was not interested in that. But the Animal Crossing stuff is really interesting. It's going to take a lot for me to go back regularly. Again, kind of have like get hit by a third wave. My first was when it came out, and then around Halloween, until Christmas, I had a second wave, and now I'm in this area where I'm just playing to get the new content, get the new Mario stuff for the day, and then turn it off and not play it anymore. So I'm still waiting for anything. This is not substantial enough for me to hit to be my third wave of Animal Crossing stuff, but it's fun. It's interesting. I love the warp pipes. I've already got my warp pipes placed where I want them, so I can like go between the shop and my home really easily. I like being able to dress up as Luigi now. Yeah, and whenever you put on the clothes, it does a little doot, and so that's really cute. But
yeah, I jumped on to buy a few of the things. I haven't played with it. I also went and said hi to all my villagers, because I hadn't played Animal Crossing in like 5
they probably thought
months.
You died.
No, yeah, all of them was like, "Oh my gosh, Luke, where have you been? It's been 6 months." I was like, "Sorry." So I said hello to everyone and told Ketchup that she is the best. And then I went and bought a handful of stuff like the warp pipes and a few of the other items, and I'll probably go back these next few days and buy more, because I have like 3 million bells in the bank or something like that. Just because I got a bunch. One of the last times I played, really back in like May or June, I got a bunch selling some selling the turnips, and then I put it on the bank, and then I've got interest on that as well. But I mentioned earlier, mine would be Mario Brothers 35. The Game & Watch thing is cool and all, but $50, and I'm not a collector, so I was like, it'd be fun if it was like 20. I might have went and bought it, but at $50, and I'm not like into collecting stuff like that. It was a pass for me. But yeah, I really like Mario 35, like I mentioned at the start of the topic of the week. It's been a ton of fun for me. I'm definitely gonna miss that one. I really hope that they're taking this one down so they can bring it back with where it'll rotate with maybe Mario Brothers 3 and
awesome.
New Super Mario Brothers, some sort of way that makes it live in a new way where it's like this. Because I like the idea a lot, so I hope that one does come back. But yeah, Court, would you have a particular favorite out of the smaller releases?
So I lent out Animal Crossing along with my friends, along with the other games, so I'm missing out on that. 35 I never played, which is a shame because I do love the first game.
Yeah, after 3 weeks from now, you're never going to get to.
Yeah, I would go play it. So a tip for you: get a fire flower and then focus on defeating enemies more than speedrunning the level. If you know where all the hidden power-ups are, get those. Because the goal is you want to build up your time as much as possible and send as many enemies to your opponents as much as possible. Those are the biggest tips I can give you. But yeah, it's a ton
and also
of fun.
Don't die.
That too. Good.
Okay, good. I played that game a few hundred times. Maybe.
Yeah, but it definitely throws you off because what will happen is when people start defeating enemies, they'll send to other people. So you can be playing 1-1, and then all of a sudden Bowser's there. So and so it messes with your muscle memory at times. But yeah, definitely the best thing is play a lot if you can. Like if you go to like the warp pipe at the end of 1-2, play 1-1 and 1-2 as much as you can because those are easy ways to rack up a ton of coins and to rack up a ton of time by defeating enemies. But yeah, definitely go play Mario 35.
All right, I'll give it a try. I would go probably in the route of the Legos and maybe even like we didn't get into this, but like the Jakks Pacific toys, which make fine Sonic toys as well.
I do have a couple of those.
So I would get into that because I grew up in the era of like the 80s and 90s, mostly the 80s, where everything was a toy commercial, every cartoon was a toy commercial, and then they got smarter in the 90s and they said, hey, we have to have educational stuff for kids. We can't be preying on kids.
No, you don't.
But you don't really, because they sold a lot of toys to me. But yeah, I would say like the Legos that I can't afford or didn't buy, and like the action figures that came from this. I think there was like a Jakks Pacific thing. It was like It's a Me, a Mario or something that was for that edition for the to honor that anniversary. So I would say probably those. The Game & Watch would be a nice thing if I was collecting everything and had just disposable money going back to that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them back in stock. My Targets, because the Target by my place and the Target by my work, I've gone in there, both of them a couple of times, and they've had 5, 6, 7 of them, all ready to go, and so they're in stock. It's just that they're still $50. Like I said, if it was $20, I might buy one, but 50 is just a little too steep for me to play Mario and to play ball and to have clock faces.
Yeah, if they can throw that out and they can just give me another mini. I'm a big fan of the minis, like the Nintendo Classics, the Super Nintendo Classics. 64 would be cool. I don't know how they would do that, but yeah.
For sure. So, I mentioned at the start too, there was a couple games that we have that are on this fringe where they're not part of the celebration, but they almost could have been if things would have went maybe a little different in this past year because of the pandemic, with Paper Mario and with the new Mario Golf game that's coming out. Because we had Paper Mario come out last summer, and then the anniversary stuff took place starting in the fall, and then the anniversary stuff is ending this month, and in June we get a new Mario Golf. But like there was a lot of rumors and leaks about a lot of the 35th anniversary stuff happening this time last year. So I wonder if things like Mario Golf and Paper Mario were originally supposed to be part of the celebration, and then because of the pandemic, they had to delay some of the stuff, and so then they just put Paper Mario out by itself, and then Mario Golf out after it as well. Do you think that that's why, or do you think that this was the plan all along to have these games not part of the celebration?
I think Paper Mario probably was tied into it. I'm not sure about Mario Golf, but if both of them were, then that kind of would have, if it weren't for the pandemic and Mario Golf and Paper Mario both were tied into the celebration, then that would have made me feel a lot better. Like not everything was just regurgitated media that they'd given us. But since it wasn't, I think the Paper Mario was supposed to be, but I'm not so sure about Mario Golf. But I think maybe Paper Mario was just way ready, and they weren't ready to announce the 3D anniversary yet. So they're like, we'll just send out Paper Mario early.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
It was one of those, whether it was 3D All Stars or Mario Kart Live, one of those games, or the development for Bowser's Fury, one of those three, or a collection of those three, something in that was holding them back because of the transition to home for the pandemic. So that's why they had to delay those. And because we've seen Nintendo do that before. I can't remember if it was Yoshi or one of the smaller franchises, like whether it was Yoshi or another one of those ones where the Switch game that came out in like the spring or the summer of a year, but people went and they data mined it, and they found out that like the game like version was complete that like previous like December. So like it was ready like 2 or 3 months before it released at a minimum, before they actually put it out. So sometimes Nintendo just kind of holds things off to space them out, and they're probably going to do that with Paper Mario, and then the pandemic happened, and they're like, all right, we'll just put Paper Mario out and then finish up 3D All Stars or Mario Kart Live and all that. I mean, I'm excited for Mario Golf. Yeah,
me too.
I think it would have made the celebration a little stronger looking back as a whole. But before we give a grade on it, the last question that I have for you is kind of going back to 3D All Stars. What do you think the legacy of this game is going to be, since it is kind of more of a bare bones port and a limited release? Because I know some pals of the podcast, like Zach and Ryan, who've been on before, both have talked about how they regret buying this game. Both when I've been playing Call of Duty with them and just on Twitter, how much they regret it because of how it's bare bones and the emulation isn't always perfect. I know it's a little more, from people who've played Mario 64 to death, more have talked about how a little more slippery the Switch version is compared to the 64. Says someone who barely played Mario 64 growing up. I can't confirm or deny that, but things like that, and just the bare bonesness, and then you throw on top of that, it's limited. What do you think the legacy of this is going to be compared to what we saw with something like the original All Stars or other collections in the past?
Well, any press is good press, so Nintendo will just take whatever they can get as long as you're talking about it. People are just going to be on two different camps. Like, I'll be in the camp where I just love anything to do with a collection, and it means they can usher into more collections when we get into Zelda, or I hope we get a Metroid Prime collection or something. And then you got the other camp that wishes there was more and wishes maybe Galaxy 2. I kind of wish Galaxy 2 would have been included, or at least ported somehow in its own game. But I know that there was internal struggles. There's a lot of rumors about different ways that could have. I was reading an article about like internal struggles with not Sakurai, but Miyamoto and somebody else on the production team, and who knows what went down there and their reason. But it just, the people are just going to be in two camps, and there's not going to be really a middle ground. I'm in the camp that appreciates just having a collection and acknowledging that their flagship character is there and just poignant as ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Johnny, what about you? What do you think the legacy is going to be for this?
I think that the games are always going to be iconic, but I think because this is a limited release, I think that people aren't going to remember this as easily as they will each one's initial release on the 64, the GameCube, and the Wii. Because I think that if this were to continue, then people could buy this forever. I mean, people could always buy this on the Switch, or as long as the Switch is out for the next few years. But since it's leaving in 3 weeks, then I think this is going to be something that people are going to forget about. Either you already own it, or you never will. And I think because of that, it's something that if you don't have access to it, but there's already a version out there that's already been around, and this isn't some new, this isn't like Spyro or Crash where the graphics are amped up a lot. This is going to be something that's just going to be forgotten about. I don't think people are going to hate on it after it's gone. I just think people are going to forget, which is worse. It's like Court said, like, bad publicity is still publicity. But like, I really think that this is going to be something that people are going to forget about, because most of the people who have it already played it. And then anybody else is going to remember the N64 version or the GameCube version or the Wii version. And they're not going to remember the Switch version because they can't have access to it. So, yeah, it's kind of like I part of me understands that, like, there's a lot of the Nintendo wanted fans to go out and buy it, and that's why it's a limited release, so they could ensure that they would go out and buy it right away. But they didn't need to do that. We would have bought it anyway. So yeah. Basically, I just don't know why they thought that they needed to do that.
Yeah, because like when you what I was going to say then too is when you think about it, like the Switch sold so well in the pandemic with a lack of new releases. Like you had obviously Animal Crossing was a big reason people were buying Switches, and then some bought it for I assume some probably bought it for Paper Mario, but people were buying Switches, and then they were going and buying Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart, Smash. Like people were joining the Switch game late, but still buying into the heavy hitters from the first few years because they had so many quality titles, and even a bare bones port like that would still have been something that people would have been, okay, I'm buying a Switch. That's one of the first games I'm going to buy because I loved Mario 64 as a kid, and I want my kid to see it, or whatever they're buying it for. And yeah, it's hard to fully know what the legacy is going to be, I think, as well, because it's like this game has had a mixed bag of reception where some's like, okay, this is not enough, but the games are still incredible, and then others hate it. So I don't think we're fully going to know the legacy until it is gone, and then just to see like what happens after and what Nintendo does after this as well, because they could take the collection down and then throw up Nintendo 64 games on Nintendo Switch Online. Mm-hmm. Or they do a individual re-release of the games where it's $25 to get Mario 64 by itself, or Sunshine, and then those who bought the collection in 2020 paid a little less and then had all the games together. Like, who knows what they could do in the future? We may never see these games on the Switch again. We may see them again across a different way. And so I don't, until the dust fully settles and we know what will happen after, I don't think we'll be able to fully know the legacy just at this time. But hopefully people are still happy that we got these, because as we mentioned when it first was announced, this was the first time that someone was able to play Mario Sunshine since the GameCube. If they had a Wii, they could play it there as well. That's the first time it had been re-released since it was on the Player's Choice in the early 2000s. So the fact that we got that game for the first time in almost 15 years was a big deal.
And players of a younger generation might have been introduced to all these games all at once, and that was a big move. And maybe we'll see a deluxe edition down the road that would have maybe a Galaxy 2 or some shiny toys included inside of the package, like a deluxe package. Who knows what? Maybe they're taking this as a test ground. Or maybe they're just going to give us bare bones stuff and they don't care, but we're going to buy it.
Yeah. So the last one I have, technically two questions, but the last one I have is, like, if you were Nintendo's, quote, teacher, what grade would you give them for the celebration in your eyes? And then with that, what could Nintendo or any other companies take from this celebration to use for their big ones coming up in the future, like, say, Sonic and Zelda's 30th this year, Donkey Kong's 40th is coming up, and all that. So what grade, and then what can Nintendo or other companies do in the future to take from this to improve, maybe?
I think I think this entire celebration gets a B minus. I think that it's just barely above average to not deserve a C, but I think that a B minus is like the best you can say they did without really being anything too special. There's a lot that was great here. Bowser's Fury was great. The concept of Mario Kart home circuit was great. I think it might have been the only blow up I've ever given. But I think it's an okay game looking back. I think everything, Mario 35, the All-Stars, I think all of it just it was good. It was good. It was somewhere between good and great is where it was.
If you throw in Paper Mario and let's say the Mario golf game is well, would that bump it up much more above from it? Outside of maybe a B minus to a B, would it do anything more than that, like a B plus or an A, or would it just go to a B?
I think Mario Golf is going to be a lot of fun. Paper Mario had its own problems, and I hated some of the things. I've talked about it on the podcast before about their like restrictions that they laid upon themselves, which then hurt themselves. It was stupid. But the fact that Paper Mario was still a new game, a new adventure that nobody had ever played before, that it already bumps it up at least a little bit to me, because I did have fun. I had fun. I'm never going to play it again. Never going to replay Origami King ever in my life. Have no interest in replaying it, but it was fun for those few days that I did beat it. And Mario Golf looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Also something that's completely brand new, something that is like foreign to this 35th anniversary new content. I'm saying that as somebody who's played everything in the past. Like, both of you had never played 3D World, so that entire thing was new to you. It just wasn't new to me. I would say if they added Paper Mario and Mario Golf, it would be a B plus, maybe A minus.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Court, what about you? What would your overall grade be?
I'll give it a B plus, just for like some of the stuff that Johnny said, like just. But I mean, like, I have to factor in like the pandemic. So like I was doing a project for Jackie Lamer, and like during the project, we were trying to save a certain website that was not doing. That was a crappy website, and we we're trying to save it, and we're trying to make up concepts of how this site could do better. And the site actually closed down, and I had to like start a new site. So basically, like, something got thrown in. The wrench got thrown into the plans of Nintendo with this big pandemic. Got thrown in all of our lives in the world, and so I can't fault them because they had to scatter stuff all along. And maybe they had to give us bare bones stuff. Maybe they were going to do more with some of the ports to church it up, as I say. So I just got to give them kind of the benefit of the doubt type thing. And I think for what it was great. Maybe they're going to take some feedback and they're going to improve with maybe the Zelda one, I hope. And then other people can look towards, like Sega can look to. Sega has like, when things get back to normal, they have parties, and they have like different kind of Sonic parties and gatherings and conventions. So they do a little bit more, but I would like to see retrospective documentaries. I would like to see something like they did with the Pokemon. They had like a little video before, and I went through like all the history of Pokemon. And I'm just a big documentary fan, so I don't know if this would appeal to everybody. But like I talked about, like these enhanced deluxe sets with like books and the history of the people who worked on these games, I think maybe video game historians might like that, and casual fans might like that. I don't know. But people just look forward to just mistakes and learning from their mistakes. But all in all, I think it's a B plus. It's admirable. It was like, I pat them on the back. I give them a gold star for all the stuff they did, despite what our world was going to crap at that time. So they were doing their best.
Yeah, I would, like Johnny, I'd give it a B minus as well. There's some good ideas there. Maybe needed a little bit more fleshed out. It just, with some of the bare bonesness, and while, the pandemic definitely hurt it. if we weren't in the pandemic, then maybe we would have had Paper Mario and Mario Golf part of it, and that would have made it better. Maybe we would have got a couple more new things. But with the state that it came out in, and then especially with the limited release of 3D All-Stars and Mario 35, then it also just lowers it down for me, because those are two games that I enjoyed a lot of, that's in a couple weeks people are never going to be able to buy. And in 35, if they shut the game down, then even though it was a free game, I won't be able to play it anymore, and that's pretty disappointing. Yeah, Court kind of mentioned a little bit too, but you can take stuff. But then, what do you think that Nintendo and others can learn from this? You know, like I mentioned with the pandemic, you know, that is something that no one expected, and I'm sure that if there wasn't a pandemic, we would have got a little more, even if it just was celebration stuff, nothing new content wise, but we got more, you know, parties and all that. That still would have been something which would have been nice, but I can't fault Nintendo for that, because they didn't expect the world to shut down. I just hope that if we are getting some sort of Zelda port, or if Sega does something with Sonic Special for this year, that they you know, they don't need to go like and rebuild the games completely from ground up, but I hope that they throw in a couple extra little trinkets here and there just to make something nice. The Xbox 360 and PS3 re-release of Sonic Adventure 2 did that, where there's like a quick, like 5-minute video just talking about some of the development of the game. It was nothing special, and like, so they added that, online leaderboards, and widescreen support. So like the video was just enough to add a little extra to it, but they were selling that game for like $10, and then the battle expansion for like $3 or $4. So they were selling that game for cheap, but they still added something. So hopefully we get smaller things like that, and just some other things that seem nice. But I think the biggest thing that Nintendo and anyone else should do moving forward, don't do a limited release digitally. Doing a physical limited release, that's fine. Limited run games does that, and all these games will do that, and that's fine. If they want to put out, okay, you can only buy 3D All-Stars, we're printing it for 3 months, and then once the initial run is printed, we're not going to print it anymore. That's fine, but keep it on the storefront. And so hopefully we don't see that happen, just because that was just kind of a shitty move by Nintendo.
And I do think that if they do, I mean, they've kind of made sure that people know that, like, this is the end. If you thought that it wasn't the end, hey, it is. We're not going to sell it anymore. But I do think that if they do what you said earlier and sell each game individually on the eShop for a cheaper price, I think that would make up for it, at least a little bit, because my biggest fear is I spent money on the game on a physical copy, and if my physical copy breaks for whatever reason, like the disc breaks or scratches or whatever, or not a disc, the chip, if it breaks, then like I have to either like get it, like if it breaks now, then I have to go get it before it runs out in 3 weeks, or if it breaks in April or later, then I just am screwed. Like I gave Nintendo my $60 and now I just
now you gotta pay someone else like $100 to get a new copy of it.
Yeah, like that's just grinds my gears.
Yeah, it's Nintendo. Why?
Why are you like this?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. Overall, I think that Nintendo, did an okay job. Like there's a lot of good things they did, but there was a lot that could have been done better. But it's at least we made it to the point where video games are more popular than ever, and the fact that we were able to celebrate something like Mario's 35th anniversary, like that's awesome. So kudos to Nintendo for being able to make a character that lasted this long, and we're able to do this. So I just wish we had a little more. But let's move on into recommendations then, before we wrap the show up. So Connor and Blake gave us recommendations last week. Connor gave us the film Dead Poet Society, and then Blake gave us the 2 albums, It Is What It Is by Thundercat and 100% Electronica by George Clanton. Court, since you were a pretty late edition on the show, I don't know if you knew about these recommendations and had a chance to consume them. If you've seen Dead Poet Society before, awesome. You can talk about this. Yeah. Perfect. But if you haven't listened to the albums, then that's understandable. So let's start with Dead Poet Society. Johnny, what did you think about Connor's choice of the film here?
I really liked it. There's something about it. Like, I guess when you've known Connor for as long as you have, there's something about the movie that just like, oh, this is a Connor movie. Like, I think he says that about me too. Like, this is a Johnny movie or whatever. But I definitely thought that about him. Like, this is something that Connor is like classic Connor. I loved it. I mean, Robin Williams he kills it in anything he does. I'm like 99% sure I've never seen this before, but I had when I was really young, but there were some elements of it, and I'm sure Luke you can agree to this, but there's some elements of it that kind of reminded me of Fraternity Life. And yeah, it was very good. It was very depressing at the end. Oh my God, I did not see that coming. And oh gosh, it just feels, and it was I love these kinds of movies that are all about, growing up, and having a teacher as Robin Williams is not what we all wanted. Like, didn't we all want somebody like that? So yeah, this was just a solid film. And after this, and I mean, honestly, a lot of the recent stuff Connor's recommended, the films he's recommended have been really good. So yeah, this just adds to it.
Yeah, because everyone always thinks with Robin Williams, they think of a lot of his comedy roles and things like Hook and Mrs. Doubtfire, Jumanji, even his small cameos in Night at the Museum.
And Aladdin.
Aladdin, as the voice of Genie. So like he was known for a lot of those comedic roles, but some of his more serious roles, like this one, are some of his best work as well. And it's one that shows just how good of an actor he was, because you don't always see the comedians that can also do well in a serious role. And this is definitely one of my favorite films of his. I had seen this before. Connor recommended it. Abby and I watched it a couple years ago, and yeah, it's such a wonderful movie. It gets very depressing at the end, but it's this was a man who cared about his students, and it shows just like how important a teacher can be, and just another issue of just growing up, and unfortunately, but yeah, it's another out of the park recommendation by Connor. I am very glad that when he said he was doing this last week, I was so happy. Court, what about you? What are your thoughts on this movie, even though you technically weren't on last week's episode to know it was a recommendation?
Sure. I've had it on VHS, there we go, rather, and DVD. I have it currently, so I'm a big fan of Robin Williams. He knocks it out of the park in his serious roles. Like, he's done countless amount of Good Morning Vietnam, What Dreams May Come. Another movie that's kind of like this, if you guys like this kind of teacher inspirational type thing, is Mr. Holland's Opus with Richard Dreyfuss. So I would shout that out. But yeah, it was all good. Like, if you're thinking of a classic cinema thing that's really going to get you fired up and that's inspirational, that's going to inspire you, is the Captain Oak, "Oh, Captain, my Captain" kind of speech, where he stands up, where all the kids stand up and on their desk and tear up books and all that jazz. That's going to get you fired up. So yeah, it's great. And I have to also recommend the HBO documentary of Robin Williams. It's fantastic if you want inside the guy's life, and it's also depressing at the end too, as we know, but it was a great celebration of his life and a great role.
Yeah, great recommendation, Connor. I would definitely give it a 9 out of 10 of Captain My Captains.
Dang it, that's what I was going to say.
But yeah, it was excellent.
Well, I would give it 9 out of 10. Luke stole my idea.
I would give it a 9 out of 10. I think they recite poetry in some kind of cave or cavern.
Yeah.
So I would say that.
Awesome. So then we move on into Blake. So Blake gave us 2 different albums. One of them was Thundercat's It Is What It Is, which was one of his favorite albums of 2020. And then another one was George Clanton's 100% Electronica, who is a very big name on more of the vaporwave, and some of the split off of some more modern electronica stuff has been. So let's start first with Thundercats. It is what it is. This was, you know how we mentioned a lot of this is a very Connor recommendation, or a very Johnny recommendation, a very Luke recommendation. This was a very much a Blake recommendation, because Blake, with his music taste, is a very wide range of things, and I think that Thundercat has a lot of wide range in the music as well. And so I was a big fan of this album. Personally, I don't know what your thoughts were on Johnny and Court. I don't know if you have ever heard of this album.
I actually saw Thundercat with the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
I'm familiar, and I've heard the song. I know about the, what is it called, the Dragon Ball Do-Rag.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
I can get down with that.
Yeah. So the album is kind of a jazz, R&B, electronica, lo-fi fusion. Like, it's a lot of different genres mixed together. Which is, like I said, Blake listens to pretty much everything outside of like country, and so stuff like this that has a lot of different styles mixed together. I was not surprised that like he was recommending this, and yeah, it was a very enjoyable album. I would say, Johnny, what are your thoughts on it?
I liked it. It wasn't my favorite, but I definitely see it's just this genre of music isn't something that I typically listen to. But I can definitely appreciate it for what it is. I kind of hear what you're saying about this definitely being more of a typical Blake recommendation, and I agree. It was solid. I'd never even heard of him before, unlike Court, who'd seen him before. But
was this an accident?
Yeah.
He just happened to be with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they were like, the cool thing was like him and Flea, because he's a master at the bass too. So, and Flea's a great bassist, so they had a bass
little bass off,
like a bass off. Yeah, they were slapping the bass, man.
Yeah, I thought it was solid. Nothing that was like my favorite, but I definitely enjoyed it. I played it and I just laid down and I was just like vibing to it.
Yeah.
So
Thundercat is like a lot of some other musicians in like the modern music scene. He does kind of a big mix of everything. He came to prominence being in the crossover thrash band Suicidal Tendencies. And then he also worked with producer Fine Lotus, and he's been on things like he was on To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, and so he helped win a Grammy for These Walls, since he was a part of that production of that song by Kendrick. So like he's been a part of a lot of different things in the music scene, and then this was one of his solo stuff as well. Yeah, it's very much of a nice vibe to the album is a good way to describe it too, especially when you throw in those lo-fi beats as well, and just the jazzy bass. It's a nice release, I would say. So we'll get into his other album in a second, but let's give it a review. So Court's a little different for you since you maybe only know some of the songs. So if you don't want to give a score, that's fine. But Johnny, what would you then give this score?
I would give this a 7.5 out of 10 Dragon Ball Do-Rags.
Nice. Yeah, I would go with an 8 out of 10 Black Whales. I think that was my favorite out of all of them.
That's good.
But yeah, it's very, Blake, if you listen to this one, thanks again. That was great recommendation, I think. Personally.
A lot of good features on it.
Yeah, there's a ton of features too. You got Zach Fox, Ty Dolla $ign, Lil B, Louis Cole. So like a good mix of some different artists, Charles Gambino. So you got a good mix of different artists on there as well to give it some extra oomph to it as well. So the next one then that he did is George Clanton's 100% Electronica. And so, like I said, George Clanton is kind of one of the bigger names in the vaporwave and the chill wave type of genres. George Clanton is also known by some of his other names. E-Spirits, Mirror Kisses, but he definitely is one of the bigger vaporwave artists. And so 100% Electronica is his debut album under just his regular name, because he had released some under other names. But this was kind of a nice mix of combining those two together. So, Johnny, what were you thinking then about this album?
I liked this a lot more. I think that this was something that I was talking about vibing earlier, and I listened to them back to back, and this was something that was a lot more in my like interests, in my like with my preferences. So yeah, there's definitely something that I appreciated more. This style of music is something that is right up my alley. So I was all about it.
Yeah, yes, I would agree too. I have been very much vibing onto the vaporwave train over the last month or so. Just a couple times I was like, oh, let's do that, and then I really been diving into that and some of the other subgenres of vaporwave, like Mallsoft and all that as well. It's just such a interesting genre of music, mixing all the different things that it does. But yeah, I have definitely was a big fan of this. I had listened to a lot of his other stuff beforehand, like his couple of E-Spirit albums, Virtual.zip and 200% Electronica. So this was fun to listen to one that was kind of in between those two records. And yeah, I like this one a lot as well. Court, have you ever heard of George Clanton, and have you heard of any of his stuff before, or was this something you haven't heard of?
This is something I had to dive into because I wasn't sure if it was a misprint or like a typo, because I was thinking it was George Clinton, like the funk guy that produced some of the Red Hot Chili Pepper stuff. But this is George Clanton with the bedroom pop, or like what you would call vaporwave. I really like it because I was a big Electronica fan in the 90s, like with the Chemical Brothers and Crystal Method and maybe a little bit of Prodigy. So I like that those were more like house, like hard house bands. So this is more into like, I imagine you get out of a club at like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning, and then you're just driving through the town and neon lights are everywhere. This is just like chill, like the night's over, but we're just going to vibe still and whatever. I don't know if well, when I was a younger man, I got into that kind of, got out of the clubs and would listen to some good vibe music afterwards.
Yeah, it's funny because like a lot of times, and some of it comes through on here too, but a lot of times a lot of like the vaporwave style music is, partially slowed down, chopped or screwed up samples.
Yeah.
You have like some smooth jazz, elevator music, R&B, lounge music, and yeah, it's a lot of different stuff, and with that and some future funk as well. But yeah, it's been a very fun genre to get into. So what about a rating for these? What would you guys give?
I would give this 8.5 out of 10 babies that want to cry. That was one of the titles, so.
All right, Courts, since another one, do you want to give a rating on that one, or do you want to pass just since you weren't as familiar with the recommendation going in?
I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. I don't have like a clever thing, just vibing after the club. And then I'd give Thundercats a little bit higher, like 9 out of 10, just because I love funk and 70s inspired things, and like it had a little bit of jazz fusion and acid jazz thrown in there in the guests. And his name's Thundercat. I love the Thundercats. That has nothing to do with that, but I love the 80s cartoon. So yeah, so that would be where I get down with those albums.
Awesome. Glad you liked it as well. Yeah, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I'll go with Purity. It wasn't one of the shorter tracks in there, but it was still a nice vibe. So then that means it is mine and Court's turn as well. So we always have to give our guests one as well. So Court, do you have a recommendation for us?
Yeah, I tried to toss it around. I'm really getting back into Dreamcast. I'm burning some games, as the kids say. So I have a fat stack of games. I'm getting all the classics, your Crazy Taxis, your Jet Set grind and all those cool, discovering all the fighting games, all your Capcom
Have you
versus
played
Marvel.
Seaman yet?
That's a crazy game that I have not got yet, but I will get that because that looks absolutely nuts. But I'm getting some Japanese games, and there's some platformers that I never heard of that I'm getting. But, okay, going back to that, there's a game by Capcom. I would say this is almost a precursor to a Smash Brothers game, and I threw this out the other night as I gave Johnny the characters, like what they looked like from this game, and it's called Power Stone. It's a beloved game that had 2 sequels, and just Capcom just poo-pooed on it, and just said no more, just like Dino Crisis or some games like that, or Darkstalkers, another game that I really loved. They just poo-pooed on these games and said no more, you don't get any more. But basically, Power Stone, there's a guy called Top Hat Gaming Man. He's a British chap, and he goes through beat-em-up games and fighting games, and he has a Power Stone video, and it's called "Is This Even a Game? Is This Even a Fighting Game?" or something like that. But just look up Top Hat Gaming Man, and it's a Power Stone video, and it's all about the history of it. It goes into the characters, it goes into the gaming mechanic. Power Stone is about an arena fighting game, and you basically can it's almost like Sonic, where he gets the jewels or the stones or whatever they are, the Chaos Emeralds, and you get these stones that almost make you to Super Saiyan level powers as you go on. So people have to scramble through the stage to get these stones, and they're trying to get them before the other people get them. There's weapons, there's park benches you could throw at each other, there's bazookas, and just stuff you could pick up. And then the stages later on in the second game, the stages kind of elevate, and you can have to follow the stages kind of like they're moving, like in Smash Brothers. So I think this is like a really cool game. It's got colorful characters, and it takes place in the 1900s, which was cool. It has pirates in it. I love pirates. Just a colorful cast of characters, and Capcom really needs to. I love Resident Evil, but that's all they really are putting their money towards, I think, for the most
Pretty
part.
much nowadays, yeah. Just like how Sega is only acknowledging Sonic and Yakuza and not anything else, even though there's a ton of good ones there as well. But
yeah, like Skies of Arcadia, they could bring that back. There's just so much I'm discovering for the first time, because I didn't have a Dreamcast, so I'm partying like it's 1999 or whatever, whenever it came out. So I was originally going to give you guys a Dreamcast documentary, but I think Power Stone and Top Hat Gaming Man will fill that void. And so if you guys ever get a chance to play this, I don't know how, on a ROM or some way to play Power Stone, I think you guys would really enjoy it if you like Smash Brothers and like arena fighters. And
Perfect.
colorful cast of characters.
Awesome. Well, I will definitely check out this video. So, The History of Power Stone by Top Hat Gaming Man. Awesome. I will definitely have to look at that. And so then that means it also is my turn as well. And I am going to continue the musical train of recommending an album. Another album that is kind of in the keeping the trend going with kind of some vaporwave style stuff as well. There is an artist named 3D Blast, and I'm going to recommend his album Iconic Bitch. So it is it came out in 2019, and it is on Spotify and Apple Music and all that. And I will link Johnny. I will link you a YouTube one as well. I'm pretty sure it's on Apple Music. It's for sure on Spotify.
I think I'm looking at it now.
It has a skull guy. And it's like a white. Yep. It's 11 tracks. It's about 50 minutes long. And so there's some nice samples that you guys will recognize when you listen as well, even with the Beyond Nostalgia to start the album off. So that's the album I'm recommending, and you guys can discuss that on your thoughts on it next week as well. So we'll look into that and into Court's recommendation as well. So that is awesome. And now it's the fun time of the episode where we go over sponsors and thank yous and all that. So this podcast is sponsored by Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. Visit anchor.fm to start your own. This podcast is also sponsored by ByLightFixtures.com. Visit ByLightFixtures.com for a trusted source of quality lighting products for your business or home. As always, big thank you to Tom Taylor of Tailored Beats for the intro and the outro of this podcast. Follow him on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Taylor Productions. Also, shout out to the pal of the podcast, Zach Perez, who I mentioned earlier, in his new show, Title Screen. This new podcast features Zach discussing his guests' most influential video games of all time. Be on the lookout, as the first few episodes should be showing up over the next few weeks, including an episode with myself talking about Crash Team Racing. You can follow his show on Twitter and on Facebook. They're on Twitter at Title Screen Pod, and then they're on Facebook under the name Title Screen. So be sure to look at that. I'll let you know when that first episode is live as well, so you guys can listen to me talk about Crash Team Racing. And then another big thank you to Court for joining us on this episode as well. It's a pretty late addition for him to come on. Our fire of Connor was fairly late, right before the recording. But we were glad Court was able to join us and give good discussion. As always, I like to let our guests post their social media. So, Court, where can the people find you on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want them to find you at?
Mostly, I've been bothering the people on Twitter, on the Twitter sphere these days, bothering the kids with all of my recommendations of videos. So you can find me at Jensen_Court, or just look up Court Jensen, and you'll see me hanging out with these space bears called Ewoks. You'll see that in the picture, and that's me. Perfect. And so you can find me in my ranting, in my lists, my ranting of a madman type list.
Perfect.
Awesome. So yeah, be sure to give Court a follow on there. It'll definitely keep you up to date on a lot of interesting YouTube videos and a bunch of nerd news as well. So go and
thanks again, Court.
Yes, thank you again.
Thank you guys for having me.
So, and then also don't forget about our social medias as well. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter if you want to as well, and our Twitch. And be sure to also subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not yet. And please, share it with your friends so we can get more of that fun Anchor money, because anyone who listens on Spotify and Apple and any of the non-YouTube platforms we're on, we get a small amount of kickback on there. So we get like a fraction of a penny each listen. So tell your friends to listen, please.
We like fractions of pennies.
Those fractions add up to whole pennies at some point. So, but yeah, a big thank you again to Court for joining us again. And we will see you guys then in next week's episode.